Future-Proof, the Cloud Payroll and HR podcast powered by PaySpace.
Future-Proof is for forward thinkers with a cloud-first strategy who want to eliminate inefficiencies, reclaim their time, and improve compliance.
We interview a payroll practitioner and HR leaders, business experts to explore how they future-proof their business. A new way of moving fast on cloud technology to win their market from anywhere on any device.
Stories about their highs and lows and actions they took in these times.
Hosted by Tammy Lewis
and Heinrich Swanepoel.
Good morning, everybody. Here with another show. Today we are hosting one of our strategic integration partners, PRP Solutions. We've got Mark and Priyesh joining us from their sales and their director team. Please, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little bit more about PRP, your background, your individual roles, and the business.
Thanks, Heinrich. Thanks for the opportunity. And I'll kick off and just give a little bit of background on the business and then hand over to Priyesh to introduce himself. So PRP, first of all, stands for People Resource Planning, company founded in 2008. And the opportunity that we identified was to digitally transform the processes around the operational management of people. So in terms of using technology for managing people, most companies back then had a payroll system. Some of them had an HR system. But a lot of the in-between processes that happen day to day in the company for scheduling people, managing their time, putting together the information to load into payroll, and management reporting was manual. And today we find many companies that still have very manual processes around managing people. And our view was people are your most valuable asset. Their time is precious, and we should be using that time efficiently, freeing up that time for your people to do the things that matter. And that's really what we do today is we focus on the digital transformation of people management processes so that we can free up people's time to do the things that really matter in your business. I was one of the original founders of PRP. I'm a director of the company. My role now encompasses a broad role encompassing business development. And I'll hand over to Priyesh to introduce himself.
Perfect. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Heinrich. Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I think my role at PRP is essentially strategic sales. So it's basically looking after our business partners, including PaySpace, which is quite an exciting one, as well as a lot of the new business that kind of comes through the company. So I think Mark's kind of given you a holistic view of what we do. And, I think from a PRP point of view, we're always looking to engage with clients in different fields, particularly the ones that are moving to, let's call it cloud solutions and embracing technology. And we want to assist you in terms of, becoming a partner and assisting you essentially to accelerate your growth from a company point of view and from essentially also from an employee point of view. So I think that's kind of in a nutshell.
Super, excellent. And I love companies that name actually speaks to their product, because you sometimes get these funny names that speak to the product itself, and people resource planning actually makes a lot of sense in the market that you guys are in. Can you expand a little bit on the offering PRP Solutions currently provides and the unique differentiators?
Yeah, so Heinrich, we have a portfolio of products. Our core cloud-based application, we call Honeycomb. It's a people management portal. Consists of a number of layers which are available to our clients. The first layer covers rostering, time and attendance, as well as interfaces to HR and payroll systems, including PaySpace as an example. The second layer comprises budgeting and forecasting. So it allows our clients to manage their budgets for labor and forecast their labor costs based on their operational plans. And then the third layer comprises HR compliance management. So we have a number of tools which complement the tools in your HR system and support things like onboarding and also managing the compliance of employees. So ensuring that your employees have the necessary training qualifications in place in order to do the job. So that's our core cloud-based product, Honeycomb. Then we have an employee portal, which is an app. We use a progressive web app technology, which is a portal for the employee that they'll run on their cell phone. We'll, I'm sure, talk a little bit more about that. So Buzz, then that we call Buzz, and it connects the employee to the company. We also have a few other products in the portfolio. We also provide access control solutions. So, and that's hardware and software solutions for access control. We have a visitor management solution and also an asset tracking solution, which is used for tracking assets in real time on a site-based assets.
Yeah, I think just to kind of add into what Mark's mentioned in terms of the high level, let's call it offerings, our products are kind of configurable based on what client requirements are. So obviously we've got common interfaces that we would kind of go flow through, whether it's on the HR or the payroll side, PaySpace being an example, and also on the configuration side. I think what probably is one of our biggest advantages, the full solution, whether it's the hardware or the software, is exclusively built by us. So we've got experience in the game. We know exactly what works. We've got a team. If there's bugs or anything related to that, we're able to assist in terms of that, and just making sure that the configuration from a client point of view is as smooth as you require. It's a critical step, moving to an HR or let's call it an operational system, whether it's on the payroll side or even on workforce management side, and we try and make sure that it works as seamlessly as the end client would kind of require it to.
I think also one of our unique differentiators is the fact that we went for cloud-based architecture from day one. So our timing was actually quite good because when we started the company, cloud-based software solutions were in their infancy, but it made sense to develop a new product using this approach. And what I've seen in the market is that some competitor products that were not cloud-based and been spending a lot of effort in the last few years to try and convert and offer cloud-based solutions, been a lot more difficult for them. So the fact that it's cloud-based has numerous advantages. It's been adopted by our clients, gives us the ability to roll out very fast, also makes the implementation of PRP practical in a very large and geographically dispersed workplace environment, because we don't need to have any infrastructure on the sites. So that's borne out by the fact that we have clients currently that operate on hundreds. I think there are a couple that even operate on more than 1,000 sites. So it's a very difficult workplace to handle, and our cloud-based technology is well suited to that. So I think that's a unique differentiator.
Definitely. And just, I think sort of my interest, is there a story behind the Honeycomb and the Buzz? Is it, what's that story about?
I can actually take credit for coming up with that myself. We were looking for a product name, and at the same time we were putting together some new sales material. And one of the things that we wanted to emphasize was our ability to integrate, to achieve tight integration with other systems. And typically, when people want to portray integration, they'll put two gears working together, a few gears working together. We thought that's a bit old-fashioned and a bit industrial era. So what I suggested is, if one looks at nature, the most tightly integrated structure that you'll find is the beehive honeycomb structure. So we felt that represented that integration capability well, one of the strongest structures in nature. So we felt that really portrayed our product well and worked as a brand name. So it started with Honeycomb and then later expanded to the beehive in terms of our other product names.
Excellent. Priyesh, do you use that in your sales tactics when you're pitching? Okay.
Mention, essentially even with the Buzz platform, it's geared towards employees. So, all the worker bees are kind of going in, doing their jobs, and, this portal is making it a lot easier for you to get the information that you require back. So I think practically it makes a lot of sense.
No, super. And it is so important, I think, in any organization, that compliance factor was something that also stood out for me, is having that compliance and making sure that where you onboard the system and the people resource planning, and what PRP actually does is making sure that the compliance is correct from day one, because if that's critical in having, I want to say, sort of key data in any system, go into the system and out the system. From a core product perspective, can you use them individually? Is there, when you implement the software, do you need the core product and then continue with the different things, or how does the deployment work, and how does the sort of the products fit together?
Yeah, so it's all kind of modular dependent. So it's obviously dependent on the requirements. So certain clients will start off with, let's call it a clocking workforce management solution, because essentially that's what they need at that point. That's their pain point. You'll have other clients where they might have, let's say, either legacy systems and they've got that, let's say, clocking component, or maybe in their industry doesn't really require them to have it. Then they'll obviously go onto our HR layer or buzz layer, just from an employee self-service portal's point of view. So, it's fully, the employee or the company can kind of decide in terms of which route they want to go, and they don't need to obviously start off with the full offering. They can kind of pick and choose as they require, as they scale, whether it's upward or in certain cases, particularly with the lockdowns and businesses kind of going but less in terms of their operations, they can scale down as they require. And I think that gives companies an advantage. You're paying for a service based on what you require. If your numbers are going down, you need to have the cost savings, and PRP can kind of offer you that in terms of that.
Excellent. And just another word that also bounced out was sort of that cloud first technology. I think we've seen a lot in the changes for cloud first. Tell us just the benefits it provides from a PRP solution side. What does cloud first mean to you guys and to your clients?
Yeah, I think, Heinrich, it's been a big benefit for us and our clients, the cloud technology. The fact that we've been very successful in the services industries is very much due to that. We have clients that operate a workforce that's working on hundreds, in some cases even thousands of different sites, in client sites, with very little infrastructure. So it just wouldn't be practical to implement any other type of architecture to manage a workforce like that. It also gives us speed, means we can take on and roll out new clients very fast. It's the most cost-efficient model for our clients, so their total cost of ownership compared to other models is optimized, gives us an advantage. And the geographical spread is also shown by the fact that we've got PRP deployed in 19 other countries in Africa. In addition to South Africa, we're rolling out internationally as well, and gives us a lot of flexibility in where we place the servers and provide the point of presence for the clients. So we can roll out into countries that have very little infrastructure, because we focused on cloud first and also cellular technology as well in our devices and in our cell phone applications. The real-time aspect is also important. So, we've got real-time data available to managers, and this differentiates us from a lot of time and attendance type products, which are geared more towards calculating a timesheet for running the payroll. The problem with that is that you don't have real-time visibility on your labor. So we find in many of our clients, before they roll out PRP, they get the management information on their labor management efficiencies sometimes a week or 2 weeks after the payroll is run. At that point, they then realize that overtime was out of control, and they haven't achieved the necessary productivity or budgets on their sites, and that's too late, because you've operated inefficiently and you've incurred those costs. So the real-time feedback that managers can get from PRP shows them their current labor management position, and even predicts forward to show where they'll end up at the end of the cycle well in advance of actually running the payroll. So they get alerts and usable management information at the time when they can still make a change to avoid a problem rather than finding out about it afterwards.
And that's so true. That you've mentioned, and I'm hearing speed, cost, technology, and it's in Africa we've got a tendency of leapfrogging certain technologies and legacy ways of doing it, and that is music to my ears, definitely. Just from I want to say sort of a payroll aspect, and payroll is vital in any business. How do you view organizations in these industries changing to a cloud-first solution, like, for instance, a PaySpace or a PRP? Yeah,
I think what traditionally used to happen, you had a payroll department, let's call it a few years back, where everything was centralized. What you've seen in many businesses, whether it's smaller ones or the bigger ones, they now are changing the structure of payroll. And I think as that has occurred, technology needs to come in. You can't be dependent on, let's call it, a single person to run a process on payroll. Having a cloud-first technology, example, like a PaySpace, let's call it payroll system, makes it a lot easier for different people in different fields that are related to payroll to be able to provide their input, and provides you with that speed, as you mentioned earlier. You're not restricted in terms of, let's call it, a desktop or your laptop speed. Everything is running off the cloud. You're getting the best efficiency. You need to run a payroll, whether it's for 10 people, whether it's for 20,000 people. You need to make sure that goes out as quickly as possible, because at the end of the day, you can't afford to have an employee not getting their salary. You're just going to have problems in any company. So, the cloud-first technologies allow you to do that. It allows you to add a lot more value, from all aspects. There's other features, other functionality that you can get in a solution, as example, as the PaySpace solution that provides you with that input and provides you with the speed. And, essentially the payroll person that might have been processing payroll that might have taken, let's call it, a week or a few days, now they can actually do that a lot faster. So it gives you that speed, it gives you that reliability. If anything happens with that person's laptop, desktop, they've still got the information is available. The backups are there at all times.
One of the things I've seen in organizations that haven't yet adopted cloud first is they tend to have to design their process around where the system is. And I think that's a key breakthrough that we found with PRP, for example, in that you can design the process according to where the participants and the process owners are, not where the system is. So to give you an example, traditionally in the security industry, where they had centralized systems, there's a lot of back and forth. You find a process where there's a lot of back and forth of information flow that's happening by email, telephone, and so on between operations and the center where the data needs to be managed. Now, with cloud-based, we can design the process in the most efficient way that every input and every check can happen wherever the right process owner is, because everybody's accessing the same system live.
And it's so vital, again, things you've mentioned now from operational side. Planning becomes so important because it needs to be accurate. And if you on a cloud first, you can do that integration. You can make sure that the data is correct going into the calculator and actually spitting out the correct information, because queries is the last thing you want in payroll. And not paying the guys accurately and on time.
Just a comment on regarding payroll in terms of what we've seen, Heinrich. When we started PRP back in 2008, we found companies hardly ever changed their payroll. So our initial strategy was to say, well, PRP must work with every payroll system that's out there. And it's been a strength. So we've been able to integrate with what clients had out there. And it was a broad range, obviously, products that are in the market. But for years, we found that was very static. Clients didn't change their payroll. What we have seen in the last 2 years or so is a new evolution in that market, and quite and which I'm sure you've seen as well, a strong move towards modern payroll systems and including in a move towards cloud-based systems. So that's all changed. So the key now for us is to design generic interfaces that can work with products like PaySpace so that we can really quickly deliver end-to-end solutions for our clients without having to go off and do a customized integration each time. So we put a lot of focus on that in the current times, is making sure that we design those interfaces in a generic way so that we can get fast deployment at new clients.
And you actually jumping, I don't say jumping, but a question that I wrote down for us a little bit later, but the PRP and PaySpace integrations and having access to an API, what does it mean to have APIs these days? Because I think cloud first, it is seen as a given, but like you said, there's a lot of people that's still stuck on legacy and have to arrange their operations based on the technology stack that they offer. But what does PRP and PaySpace with our APIs bring to the industry?
Yeah, I mean, in the early days, most of our interfaces were file-based interfaces. And the limitation there is speed. So it would be fine in terms of, for example, exporting a payroll that you're running once a month. But for example, with HR information or leave information, we've found in many cases it's not really quick enough to only update once a day when you transfer the file. Also, lots of complications around managing the files. And so I think that's really what I feel the API approach brings, is the ability to get immediate access to the data that you need, so that the user, when they need to make a decision and information is in the other system, that we can immediately get access to that information. So we're seeing all of our interfaces going towards API, and that's the model used by PaySpace. So I'm very excited about the tight integration that we can achieve through those APIs.
Yeah, I think without kind of going into all the technicals, which probably the three of us won't know all the details here, we'll need some really technical person to give us those details. But I think, it provides you that input. Everybody can see the information. You can see it in real time. Whatever has happened on, let's call it the operational or on the ground level, you can see it on the payroll level as well. So you can make the right decisions. The operational manager would have gone in, approved their data, sent it through to payroll. Payroll now can validate it, and they can see that exactly. So you can make the changes if employee leaves in the middle of a period. That interface already has built it in. So you don't need to now wait, do other documents or termination process. And the same thing with new hiring. You can go through the process digitally. It can trigger whatever you need to trigger, contracts, those type of things, and as well as changes, salaries, and those type of things. So you've got that, let's call it single point of, let's call it continuous interaction, if you can call it as such.
Definitely. And like I think it's came out, but we're seeing a big drive in remote working, the gig economy. It's a norm in a lot of industries. And we've seen now the transition between, I think, during COVID and still going on, that companies said work remote, but it's more companies going back to work. But there's I want to say a hybrid between the two. What does PRP provide in these industries where remote work is a thing? And I think there was a term where they say work out loud. How does PRP help these organizations in working out loud or remote working?
Yeah, one of the things that we recognized especially with the advent of COVID, when this really accelerated, was that the nature of the workplace was changing. And with the gig economy, as you call it as well, that the workplace is moving towards homes, coffee shops, wherever you are. And that was one of the big drivers behind us adding Buzz to our product line. So Buzz is a relatively new addition to our product line. Added that in 2020, and that the realization was that the workplace has changed. Individual employees will be based wherever works best to have them based, and their link with the organization needs to be available live and all the time. And that also the move away from from just measuring time, in our case, towards measuring output. And hence on Buzz, in addition to your normal supporting applications for employee self-service, we put a big focus onto productivity applications where we can have employees reporting back on the tasks that they're doing and the output that they've done.
Yeah, I think as Mark mentioned, a lot of industries, it's become about output. And Buzz kind of provides you with those tools. You can measure the employees. If you've got a traditional environment where you need to measure, let's say, the employees' locations and their times, you've got that interface that you can get from our Buzz portal and feeds back into our main Honeycomb management portal side of things. And then also for environments where you've got checklists, task lists, those type of things that are determining your output from that employee point of view. You can see that information. Your manager or operational manager can go in, see exactly what you're doing, see the photos, see the location, get all the information relevant to that. So, it provides you with the tools. So now you're not restricted to essentially being at the office. Just as an example, PRP scaled down our offices with COVID because we see that there's no real requirement to have everybody at the office all the time. Everybody's working from home, it's working out, you're getting the output that you require. So a lot of businesses have gone that route. And also businesses that are kind of coming back in. I think there's a big push from a lot of corporate businesses to go and let's call it a hybrid or certain days in. You still get the information in whichever case you kind of go. You'll still get that information back and you'll be able to manage your workforce on PRP and essentially manage your payroll and the PaySpace side of things as well.
So I think the advantages of a cloud-based solution are just multiplied many times in that kind of distributed workplace.
Very true. Gentlemen, we've come to the end, and normally what we do at the end, we ask a question to summarize for us. What does payroll mean? Today I'm going to ask you guys, what does payroll and PRP in one word mean each? I don't know if you've got an answer for me.
If you want literally one word.
Yes.
I would say, good question.
I'd like to jump into integration. I think just to have two similar systems that are working traditionally have always worked in, let's call it silos. Now you're essentially getting all that information back in a single source, so you can see all that information in a single source. If I had to kind of identify a word, I would probably use integration.
Yeah, I would say maybe it's two words unless you put a hyphen, but people power. So empowerment of people.
And it actually correlates exactly what you've been saying the whole time, the Honeycomb, the integration, the people power, and just making sure that it's efficient, it's cost effective, and you're on the latest and greatest on the technology side. And what would be the easiest ways of getting hold of you gentlemen or PRP if we wanted to know more?
I think probably via our website, Heinrich, so www.prpsolutions.com. Our contact details are there. There's quite a lot of information there as well. So that would probably be the best way to get hold of us. We're happy to provide contact details as well. But I think the best is just go via the website, and there's a contact form there, and all the contact details are there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Heinrich. Thank you for the opportunity.